Hey, I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Today is Big Fat Tip Day. So how do you measure your beat error on a watch? You want the beat error to be 0, which means the watch balance swings clockwise the same distance it swings counterclockwise. And to measure that, you usually take the mainspring and take all the power off the mainspring and look to see where the pallet fork lies between the banking pins. If the pallet fork is dead center between the banking pins, your watch is likely to have a near 0 beat error. You want your beat error to be below 1. So usually I've seen videos of people taking the balance off, tweaking the collet to make sure that the impulse jewel is in the right position for a pallet fork in the middle of the banking pins, and then try it again and try it again, try it again. Well, today I've tried a new technique. So what I've did, instead of taking all the power off the watch, all I did was take a toothpick, and this is not a toothpick, and I took the arm of the watch here and I put a little bit of pressure on the arm here to absorb the power from the mainspring and thereby deadening the rest of the gears and the pallet fork. And so the pallet fork, when it's deadened, doesn't snap. It just kind of sits in the middle. So it's sitting where it would normally sit when it's, there you go, like that. It's just sitting in the middle. And when I sat that in the middle with the impulse jewel in the mouth of the pallet fork, I noticed that the pallet fork was over on the inward side, more with reference to the banking pin than it was on the outward side. I won't say left and right, so inward and outward. Therefore, the impulse jewel was too far inward, which means I have to move that impulse jewel counterclockwise to center it here just a bit, and then I can put the balance back in and test, see where I am. And I believe I have to move the collet to the left to move the impulse jewel to the right. Is that right? Let me think about that. All right, it's time for some drawings. It's big notebook time. So there's the collet. I'll say that's the collet with the hairspring on it. And the hairspring is wrapping around that collet. In this case, the hairspring is in fact going in this direction, like that. And then the impulse jewel, in this case, at the bottom of the, I'll make a big giant roller table. There's a roller table. The impulse jewel, and I'm going to exaggerate here, is over here. So that's what you're looking at. So where you have the mouth of the pallet fork like this, we'll say, and let's just say this is just out of the mouth of the pallet fork, and then you have the arm of the pallet fork, and let's put the banking pins here. So the banking pins are right like that. You want them to be centered, but in this case here, if this is over on this side, then this would be over this way. So I need to move this impulse jewel to this direction. In order to move the impulse jewel this way, I have to move the collet for the hairspring the other way. So I need to move this counterclockwise from my point of view. So I need to move the collet for the hairspring clockwise. So it's the exact opposite, and I just need to move it a bit, put it back in the watch, deaden it, and see where it sits. So with a little bit of patience, I'm going to dig my screwdriver in between the spring here, and I think the spring is low enough, so I'm just going to move it this way a bit. And now it's kind of sitting in the groove here of this holder. And now I can just move this like that. And you're going to want to get in there with your screwdriver. Put the screwdriver in where the crack is on the collet. And then move the balance clockwise. Now I believe that moved, but you can't tell until you put it back in the watch. So there, it's back in the watch, and the watch is spinning nicely. I'm not sure what the bead error is going to be right now, but so what I want to do here is very, very carefully apply power. So I'm going to use my finger to stop the bounce, just a little tiny bit of friction. And then I'm going to take the power off this by just moving this back a bit. And from what I can see, it's dead center between the banking pins. So I think that did the job. And it's very hard to describe, very hard to show. I may have to get the microscope out and have a look at it from there. All right, I've set this up for the perfect view. Dead center, you can see the actual pallet fork. So when I just start this watch off again here, you'll see the watch running. And you'll see the pallet fork slapping both sides of the banking pins. And they're right in there, right? So you can see that happening. Now when I stop this watch just with my finger here, you just touch it a few times until it gets dead center and stops. You'll see that the banking pin is wherever it is. It's usually over on the other side. But so now I want to take power off the watch. So all I'm going to do here is reach in and touch the gear. I'm going to move over so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to take this gear right there. See if I can do it from this side here maybe. I want to be pushing it clockwise to take power off the watch. So if I just do this, I'll just jam this in right here and then just do that. And I'm just using leverage here to do this. And right now there should be no power on coming from that pallet fork at all. And there isn't. And with zero power, it looks like that arm is dead center. So that's what you want. So I'm just kind of pushing against the mainspring when I do this. There it is. So now I know it's floating, right? So if I just touch it, you can see it floating. And it's near dead center. So that's probably going to give a really good bead error. So we put power back on like that and get the watch running again. And that is a really easy way of adjusting the bead error, which is the difference between the swing in this direction and the swing in this direction, and it should be 0. So we're going to put this on the machine. I'll wind it up a little bit. Don't need to, but I'll wind it up and see what the bead error looks like. So here's where I ended up, and I want to just discuss something else here in this situation. So I ended up at 0.2, 0.3 millisecond bead error. I can change that 35 plus 35. And I could probably fix the amplitude a bit by winding this beast up a bit more. But I had to adjust the banking pins as well. The collet was good, but the banking pins were off. And I'm going to go to a little drawing again and show you what that is. But right now, I can get this down probably pretty close to where I'd like it to be just by adjusting grabbing the adjusting mechanism here and doing that. So let me see if I can do that. That's plus. So I want to see if I can bravely move this into a good rate. This is about as good as I can get it for now. I've got a -3 seconds per day, 210 amplitude, probably, like I said, get it a little higher if I wound it a bit more, and a 0.4 millisecond bead error. It's pretty tight, 0.3, 0.4, somewhere in there. Now let me get back to my pen and describe what I did. If you look at this alignment here, so what you want, if you're looking at the center jewel right here, right, for the balance, this is the jewel right there where my toothpick is pointing, and you go from there to the jewel for the pallet fork, and you go from there to the jewel for the escapement wheel. That's one straight line, and the banking pins should be equidistant on both sides of that straight line. So you have to have the banking pins perfectly equidistant. Plus, they can't be too wide or too narrow. So there's an adjustment to be made there, so that the lock and unlock of the jewels on the pallet fork is right. So how you adjust the width of the banking pins, I'm not sure. I do it by feel, so I take the banking pins and I widen them as much as I can until the watch no longer functions, and then I start moving them inward until my amplitude improves. So that's typically how I do it. So now I've got a rate of 0 seconds per day, which is pretty cool. I just jumped up to 20 for some crazy reason. Maybe I touched something. Anyway, it's pretty good, but the bead error is what I wanted to talk about. So let's get back to the drawing and then we'll end this video. And if you look at that pallet fork, it's pretty much in the center when I put pressure on that wheel. So I just try to let it sit like that, and it's pretty good. It's a little bit to the other side, to the right, but not too bad. But my bead error is exceptional. So if I were to take all of the pressure off the mainspring, it would probably sit perfectly. My amplitude is a little slower right now because I was playing with the gears, but as you can see again, my bead error here is 0. So point 0, my rate's a bit off, but this watch tends to be a bit touchy. So, but my bead error is perfect. All right, time for the last drawing. There's the watch. So if I line that up, what I'm saying is I want the center of the balance wheel is lined up with the center jewel of the pallet fork with the center jewel of the escapement wheel. All those are in one line, and then either side of those are the banking pins, and they can't be shifted over. Let me show you what I mean here. Let's move this out of the way. So let's say this here is the balance. That's the center jewel, and there's the balance. It's not the best balance in the world, but I'll just draw some little balance screws here just so you don't get confused. And here is, I'll make a big pallet fork. There's the center of the pallet fork wheel, and then there is the center of the escapement wheel. So you have the escapement wheel with its arms, and it's got this and all the little feet on it. I'll just draw them like this. Please put up with my drawing and my chatting here today. So you've got this, then you've got the pallet fork, and I'll just draw the fork, a really simple pallet fork with the jewels on either side, and this is going directly through here and directly through here, and it goes all the way into where the impulse jewel is. So just continue with the drawing. There's the roller table, and then there's the impulse jewels right here, and then the mouth of the pallet fork on this side, like that. So you've got this kind of configuration. This is a bit off here. I'll fatten this one up so it doesn't look so bad. Fatten it on the inside. There we go. So this is what you have. There's the center, center, center. So if you draw one line through here, it should be straight through, right? So from here to here. So let me draw a line. So instead of drawing a line, I just grabbed a piece of pegwood here, and so this is a line. So when this pallet fork moves back and forth like this, so it's going this way and it's going this way, it's slamming against the banking pins. I'll put one there and one there. Now, like I said before, if the distance between the banking pins is off, let me get my little pointer here. So if the distance, if the pallet fork at rest and the balance at rest more so, with the jewel inside the mouth of the pallet fork, this distance here, right there, has got to equal this distance here. So left and right distances have to equal each other. Now the problem you have with this complete alignment is if someone's played with these banking pins and the banking pins, I'll use black, have moved over. So one banking pin is here, like that, and the other banking pin, let's say, is over here. Then if these banking pins are off and you actually try to adjust the pallet fork to be in the center, it's not, your pallet fork alignment with the jewel is not going to be in the center. So the impulse jewel to center wheel to here is not going to be aligned. It's going to be off, and you want them to be aligned at rest. So you may have to adjust the banking pins to move them over so that they're dead center. And this is what I had to do with this particular watch. It was causing all kinds of issues because the banking pins were in fact off. So I had to move them over. So what I do, and there's other watchmakers out there that can correct me, or I'll maybe read up a little bit on how to adjust banking pins. But what I typically do is that I'll move them out until they don't work anymore. I'll move them this direction and make them equidistant from the center line, and then I'll step them forward and until it actually operates properly, and then I'll see if I can step them in more to get the right amplitude, right? Because I want it, there's a sweet spot in there where they hit the banking pin and release the jewel all at the same time. So it hits the banking pin, it throws that impulse jewel over, and it also unlocks on this side here. So there's basically the perfect position for these banking pins. So in this case here, I had to take the banking pins, and there's, if you look in the bottom of the watch here, let me grab this here and then pull that out. If you look on the bottom of this watch, you'll see these two pins right here, and here are the banking pins. Those are the banking pins for this watch, right here and here. And so you take a screwdriver and you rotate them, and the banking pin is offset with that brass dial. So if you have the big picture, I'll move the whole thing over a bit here like this, and you have, there's the banking pin. The banking pin is over on the side here, and then the underside of this has got the screw, the slot for the screw, like that. And so from the underside you're rotating this, and when you rotate this way, the banking pin, if this was the other banking pin here, would move away from the center line. So you have to adjust it that way. So that's enough theory for today. You're probably bored crapless. I won't say the other word, but you're probably bored. So that's enough. So a big fat thanks for watching this video today. I know it was a little long and a little theoretical and stuff, but the results were good, and I think you've got enough today. So make sure you buy the right books for adjusting banking pins and read that properly. This was my technique, and there's probably others, but there's probably the right technique. So this is what I do to do it, and it tends to work fairly well. So that's it. That's my video for today. So thanks for watching my channel. I'm JD. Please hit subscribe button, and please hit like and share this with others, please. So thanks a lot, and I'll catch you later.